Good afternoon, and welcome to the September 23rd, 2020 meeting of the Transportation Access Advisory Committee. This is Jean Payton for the record. Before we begin the actual meeting items, Reagan Lively will do a roll call, and then she will introduce the staff who are on the phone, and she will give us a few little housekeeping details. So Reagan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Reagan Lively, Management Analyst for the RTC for the record. I will be calling your name in alphabetical order. Please confirm your attendance as I read your name. Nancy Brune.
Present.
Havander Davis.
Present. Present.
Raymond Fletcher.
Present.
Janae Gastione.
Present.
Dan Hyde.
Present.
Bethy Logan.
Present.
Robert Lee. Robert Lee.
Present.
Thank you. Chuck Newhoner.
Present.
Jean Payton.
Present.
Amanda Shipp.
Present.
And Ralph Steele.
Bill.
Thank you, Ralph. Thank you. Also, please note that we have several RTC staff on the line for today's meeting. This includes Dan Howland, Director of Paratransit and Specialized Services, Mr. Nathan Goldberg, Manager of Transit Planning, Mr. Kenny Rodriguez, Manager of Customer Care, Mr. Robert Palumbo, Safety and Security Compliance Supervisor, and Mr. David Gloria, Management Analyst, will be reading public comments. We also have Mr. Nate Peterson and Ms. Carolyn Wright from NB Transportation with us on the line to present an item. As the chair mentioned, I have a few housekeeping items to go over. When the chair asks for comments from the committees or calls for a vote, please remember to unmute yourself before speaking. Remember to state your name for the record before providing comment. Be sure to mute your line if you are not speaking. Voting will be done verbally. The chair will call for ayes and nays. If there are no nays, then the motion will carry. If there are nays, then a roll call vote will be required. In the event of a roll call vote, please wait for your name to be read to provide your vote. The chair will call for any comments or question after an item has been presented. Thank you, Chairwoman Payton.
Thank you, Reagan. And now we'll have Dan Howland just remind us about the details of the virtual meetings. So Dan?
Chair and members of the committee, Dan Howland, Director of Paratransit and Specialized Services for the record. As you know, on March 22nd, 2020, the State of Nevada Executive Department issued Declaration of Emergency Directive 006, which suspended the requirement to have a physical location for public meetings. Pursuant to Directive 006 and for the health and safety of the community, this meeting is being held telephonically. For the first citizens participation period, Mr. David Gloria will read the public comments received by the RTC. Madam Chair.
Thank you, Dan. So the first item on our agenda is the public hearing, the first public comment period. And I just want to remind everyone that the comments in this period would be focused on items that are on today's agenda. Comments have been submitted either by mail or online to the RTC. David Gloria will be reading the comments. He'll read the first 500 words of the comment. However, when you see the minutes, the entire comment will be listed in the minutes. And so now I will ask David if there are any comments for this first public period. David?
Thank you, Chairwoman Payton. This is David Gloria, Management Analyst for the RTC for the record. There are no public comments at this time. Madam Chair, that concludes the public comments received.
Okay, thank you, David. Item number 2 on our agenda is the approval of the minutes of the July 29th, 2020 TAAC meeting. I would entertain a motion to approve.
Madam Chair, this is Dan Hyde. I move to approve the minutes as submitted.
Thank you, Dan. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes as they were submitted? Hearing none, then all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Nays? Okay, the minutes are approved. Thank you. Items 3 and 4 are the consent agenda, and if there is a need to discuss anything in items 3 or 4 of that consent agenda, you would need to move to remove it from the consent agenda so we could discuss it. I'll first ask for an approval of the consent agenda.
Madam Chair, this is Dan Hyde again. I move to approve as written.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Would anyone like to remove an item so that it can be discussed at this point? Hearing none, then all in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, nay? Very good. The consent agenda is approved. And now we are at item 5, which is an update. And this is an update on the fall 2020 transit schedule changes. And it will be presented by Nathan Greenberg. Nathan?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairwoman and members of the committee. For the record, Nathan Goldberg, Manager of Transit Planning, RTC. Today, I'm going to provide you with an update on the transit service changes that will go into effect on Sunday, October 4th, and that were approved by the RTC board on September 10th. We presented draft recommendations to you during your July meeting. So as a quick reminder, those changes included route eliminations, routing adjustments, a frequency decrease, all to help us adjust for severe losses of revenue due to COVID-19. We know and understand that these transit adjustments will impact our customers. So we wanted to hear from our customers prior to today's presentation. Staff held a 60-day public comment period from June 29th through August 28th. We briefed elected officials, held in-person and virtual public meetings, implemented an onboard Wi-Fi survey, and relied heavily on social media to gather input from our transit customers. We received over 4,400 completed surveys, more than 2,000 open-ended comments, over 25,000 unique page views, and over 41,000 total page views. We know that public transportation is an essential service, and those who use it will be impacted by the changes. 83% of those who responded to the survey use public transit either daily or weekly. Nearly 43% of our customers let us know that these proposed changes would increase their travel times, and another 23% let us know that they would ride transit less often, use their bikes instead, or have to walk to another route or another stop. More than 85% of those who responded used transit to get to work, to the grocery store, or for medical treatments. And of the comments received, comments were abundant for the HDX, asking to maintain connections to the Galleria Mall area from Boulder City for both work and leisure purposes. Comments were also extensive for the Vegas Drive and Stewart routes, the 207 and the 209, and focused on medical appointments and job-related mobility concerns. Thanks to the overwhelming feedback from our customers and the community, we are listening to them and have made 3 changes to the original proposal. Thanks to federal CARES money that we received, we are changing 2 routes, Route 207 Alta Stewart, and Route 209 Vegas Owens from proposed eliminations to service hour decreases. And on the Henderson Downtown Express, or HDX, we will be renaming the route to Route 402 Henderson Boulder City and maintain service between the Sunset Stephanie Galleria Mall area and Boulder City. Unfortunately, we are still going to have to move forward with eliminating the Westcliff Airport Express, or WAX, and the Strip and Downtown Express, or SDX. It is important to note that the modification to the CX will cover the most popular stops of the WAX. Additionally, we are making routing adjustments to Route 104 Valley View Arville, which will now just be Route 104 Valley View, the Centennial Express, or CX, the Deuce, the aforementioned HDX, which will now be Route 402, and the Sahara Express. And finally, we will implement frequency and service hour decreases on Route 122, South Maryland Parkway, Horizon Ridge, Route 207, Alta Stewart, and Route 209, Vegas Owens. There are also minor routine timing changes to routes 106, 117, 119, 203, and 214. These adjustments will save the agency approximately $9 million annually. Once again, I want to thank all the customers who participated in the comment period. Because of their voices, we had adapted and altered our transit modifications to best accommodate. That concludes my presentation, and I am available to take any questions that you might have.
Madam Chair, this is Dan Hyde.
Yes, Dan.
I have a question on, you said because of the care money that was given to you, you were able to not have to eliminate those routes that you mentioned. The question I have is, how much money did they end up giving you?
I will have to get back to you on that. I'm not sure exactly how much money that was, but we can get you that answer.
I would appreciate that. Thank you.
You got it.
Are there other questions on this presentation?
Madam Chair.
Yes. Are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Now we can, yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, my question is, how often are these transit service surveys done? Is it annually, or is it for season, or what?
If I'm understanding the question properly, service changes are typically done once per year. We do have multiple opportunities a year to do them. I believe 3 opportunities per year to do them. They coincide with the drivers' union shift bids as to when they can be implemented. However, typically we like to do 1 major change a year.
I see. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes. Before, could we, when we are asking questions or giving comments, give our name first? That would be wonderful. So Raymond, I caught you. So if you could do that, I'd appreciate it.
Raymond Fletcher for the record. Madam
Thank
Chair, Dan, are these cuts temporary? Do you possibly, because I know in the past there have been some additions and changes to the Strip Express bus. Do we see bringing something like that back once everything starts improving, or is this just going to be a permanent loss?
Hi, this is Dan Howland for the record, Madam Chair. I would ask Nathan if he has the ability to answer that question, if you could answer that question, or we'll have to get back to Raymond.
Yeah, at this time, I think everything's just so fluid. That's kind of an unknown as to what the future might look like in terms of service on Las Vegas Boulevard. We'll watch that very closely as we get ourselves out of this pandemic eventually, and and things return to what that new normal looks like. Then we can reevaluate and see what makes sense.
Madam Chair, Raymond Fletcher for the record. One more question.
Yes, Raymond.
I know in the past, and Dan, you're well aware in the past, the number of times you had been contacted due to there not being any room on the deuces for people with mobility devices, not just wheelchairs. I would hate for Las Vegas to get the reputation of having a transit system where people with mobility impairments aren't able to access the Strip or go to the downtown area due to the deuce always being packed.
Madam Chair, Dan Howland, and I'll certainly, Nathan Goldberg can respond as well, but I would just, in response to Mr. Fletcher's question, the fixed route service, the city bus service is being monitored for just that. We want to make sure that we're serving all, and as everybody knows, our fixed route city bus service is fully accessible for the ADA. And that is our expectation. And so that is, as I said, being monitored on a real-time basis. So good question, and thank you. Nathan, do you have anything you want to add?
No, well said, Dan. That's correct. We're monitoring it. We're monitoring it constantly. And anytime that we need to add more frequency to that route, we're able to do so.
Any other questions for Nathan? Okay, hearing none. Thank you very much, Nathan. We enjoyed the presentation. And now we go to item number 6, which is a presentation regarding the RTC's efforts to inform the public about the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. And that will be given by Dan Howland.
Yes, good afternoon, Madam Chair and committee members. For the record, Dan Howland, Director of Paratransit and Specialized Services for the RTC. Today, I'd like to give you a look at our commemoration of the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, or otherwise known as ADA. As many of you know, we recently reached a milestone in the disabled community, and that was back on Sunday, July 26th of 2020, where the ADA reached its 30th anniversary. We joined others across the nation in celebrating 3 decades of progress. This important civil rights law has leveled the playing field in ensuring equal access to transportation and other important facets of life for persons with disabilities. We're proud at the RTC of the role we played and continue to play in providing equitable service to all of our customers here in the Las Vegas Valley. So to commemorate the occasion, a video highlighting a handful of individuals and partners who have advocated for equal opportunity and access and in effect contributed to building our community. And we'd like to present that to you now.
The Americans with Disabilities Act required that any public transportation system also provide paratransit. So we began immediately working on a paratransit service, and I was able to start that service up. I'm very proud to have been a part of that at the foundation.
I've been associated with the RTC of Southern Nevada since 1995 in various capacities and commissions and committees that I've served on during that period of time. I've seen the evolution of the excellence that is exhibited by the RTC from 1995 to the present time. It is at a certain level of exemplary performance that very few people realize exists.
Jean has been a paratransit user since 1994, though I came in as part of the implementation part. However, for people that were disabled before that, I think it made a tremendous difference in what went on with their lives. In many instances, paratransit just really saved my life.
Public transportation is the foundation. It's the cornerstone of what the disability rights movement really began upon. if you cannot access public transportation, how can you access life?
Paratransit takes me up in the morning and takes me to work, and it picks me up in the afternoon and takes me home, which I really appreciate. I do have a few favorite drivers, yes. Thank you for taking me to work and back home.
Access to public transportation for people with disabilities is a lot more crucial than I could have ever imagined. Once I started working in the service, I think I took for granted being able to leave and go whenever I want. And what it means to me is that I get to contribute to the community on a level and a platform with the organization that I really never imagined being a part of. It's a service that's much greater than myself.
My experience working at the RTC has been great. Since I've started with RTC, doors have been loosened to make it easier for me to open them. Applicable space has been created so that my wheelchair can fit in conference room in any other room.
I am a military service disabled veteran. To be able to have full access to public transportation, including the RTC, is very, very important to me. The RTC has helped me to be able to access this community that is Southern Nevada much more easily and affordably.
So the services that are offered here at the Mobility Training Center are three-tiered. So the first service that we provide here is ADA paratransit service. The second thing that we offer here at the Mobility Training Center is RTC mobility training. So that's teaching a person with a disability or a senior citizen how to use the fixed route transit system or regular city bus. The third thing that we offer here is the only blindness skills training center in the state of Nevada, and that's run by a partner of the RTC's called Blind Connect.
You know, Blind Connect Angela's House has always had a mission to help restore independence for people who have been affected by vision loss. When we got the opportunity to partner with RTC to have our facility, Angela's House, actually built within the Mobility Training Center, that was an amazing development for our community, for our organization. And, you know, it's really created a place where people who just have lost their eyesight, that they can come and feel safe to learn this new way of life, to learn and find out that there's hope after vision loss.
As a classroom teacher, I previously taught students with very severe disabilities who were often, for a choice of not better words, left in the classroom. By working with the Regional Transportation Commission, we were able to get city bus passes, which allowed me to take my students on community-based instruction where I could teach them appropriate behaviors in public, such as restaurants, grocery stores, and other places in the community. They also provide a training at the site where they have a bus inside of their mobile transportation area that they can show them exactly how to use their passes, you know, where do you guys sit when you get up for someone who's in a wheelchair. It has opened up a whole new world to many of our students who have not been able to access some of those areas.
Transportation is a key need for our folks. And so having the ability to move around, that independence, is really a quality of life issue for anybody with a disability. So we're very grateful to everybody at the RTC for all they've done to help.
So, Madam Chair, committee members, a great video, and want to thank our government affairs group for putting that together, because I never tire of watching that video. It's fantastic. And thank you to you, Madam Chair and Vice Chair, for participating along with committee members, Raymond Fletcher, and want to say a special shout out to Sue Joseph, who was first in that video, and she was the manager of paratransit and really was really the bedrock of starting ADA paratransit here in Las Vegas, and we wouldn't be here without her and her efforts with the RTC. So, and I just want to point out one other thing, that a lot of great things said in that, and a lot of appreciation for the ADA and the RTC's paratransit service. But that driver said it very well, that she never thought that she'd come to a place to work and find that the purpose of her work was bigger than her. And I can't tell you how many drivers I hear say that genuinely. And it's just a fantastic thing to have that type of workforce in place to serve the most vulnerable of our communities. So, I also invite you to visit the RTC blog to view a series of more inspiring stories of members in our community who have contributed to the implementation of this very important piece of legislation, the ADA. And that does conclude the presentation, and be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dan. Are there questions for Dan or comments about the video or the report? I will comment on the video. This is Jean Payton for the record. I thought it was really, really well done. Just a very nice balance of people and things that they had to say. And I actually shared it with some folks on the East Coast who thought it was really pretty neat. So I it's getting some national press, I guess. And I'm hoping that there's somewhere along the line where the RTC can maybe be recognized by transit agencies for the kinds of outreach that you do like this. And I don't know if that's a possibility or not, but I would encourage you to look for those opportunities. So thank you to everyone at RTC for this.
Madam Chair, this is Dan Hyde. The comment I would like to make is that I was chair of the old Citizens Advisory Committee for 12 years. Doesn't exist anymore, but it did at that time. And I did have a lot of involvement with Sue Joseph, since Dan, you mentioned her name. And I remember a lot of sidebars her and I used to have in discussions regarding the frustrations and difficulty of implementing a brand new program of paratransit and how difficult it was. What I can tell you is over that 12-year period that I associated with her is that how the thing evolved from frustration to excellence is a credit to the degree and the type of people that you hire at the RTC to plow through all those obstacles and come up with a system that is not only just exemplary, but it's something that is a good model, in my view, for transit systems throughout the country that may be having similar struggles. And this video that you did is just outstanding and kind of encapsulates pretty clearly what can be achieved by just staying committed to the program and getting the result you want. Is just it was just outstanding, and I really appreciate you sharing it.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Jean. Much appreciated on behalf of the RTC.
Are there any other comments before we move on? All right, then item number 7 on the agenda is a presentation of the RTC paratransit notification system, and that will be given by Kenny Rodriguez. Kenny?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Kenny Rodriguez, Manager of Customer Care. I got to tell you, that was a beautiful video. It reminds me of how proud I am to work here, and it's going to be a tough act to follow, but I'll give you a brief presentation on the RTC's paratransit notification system. As you can see from the slide up there, I have imminent arrival. So I want to give you a little history. In 2015, the FTA released a best practice recommendation for paratransit services. One of the things they mentioned was to provide an option for customers to receive imminent arrivals beyond the normal calling inquiry. We began working on this project back in 2015 with our contractor at the time, and we were able to develop this product that we've been using up to last month, actually up to this month. So next slide. So on August 1st, we actually were able to implement our in-house notification system, and we launched it. We launched it in parallel with the previous system. We wanted to basically emulate what we had before with our contractor system and emulate it with our system. So we launched them at the same time, and we had them run for a month simultaneously to see if there were any differences. The results were good. We were able to actually discontinue the previous contractor system, and September 1st, we began running our system primarily. Next slide. One of the things that this imminent arrival tool became, it morphed into more than just imminent arrival. On the slide, it talks some of the different features that it offers. Again, imminent arrival is available, next day reminders, an arrival notification, a cancel notification, a late notification, drop-off notification, and also a pickup notification. These came from suggestions from customers while we were using our original program, and we were able to activate these as we evolve through the system. Another thing to note is with these notifications, you can request a GPS link, and that link will actually provide you with different options as far as location of the bus and ETAs. Currently, we have about 1,900 active clients using this system. The system also allows customers to set specific thresholds for any of those notifications as far as time, 5 minutes before, 10 minutes before, 15, whatever they want to do, they're able to set that up, customize it for themselves. Next slide. On this slide, I'm showing an example of what the notifications, if they were to click on the link that comes in via text or email, if they want to see where their vehicle is. So the slide or the picture on the left actually shows where the vehicle is located on a map using a Google map. It also shows the speed and the time it was updated. On the right, it actually has the client's location and the vehicle's location. So it'll allow you to kind of track where that vehicle is in proximity to where you are. And that concludes my presentation. Are there any questions?
Are there questions for Kenny?
Madam Chair, I do have a quick question. This is Dan Hyde again. What's the app? How do I get that on my cell phone for my sister?
Well, I think Dan's going to I'm going to be careful what I say. We currently do not have an app, and there's a reason for that. You will probably have someone from Paratransit doing a presentation towards the end of the year about a brand new service that we'll be offering. So I'll just leave that little Easter egg out there.
Okay, it's not available now, is what you're saying.
Correct.
Okay, that's what I need to know. Thank you.
Kenny, this is Jean. If it's not available now, how are 1,900 people using it?
So the 1,990 people, most of those were transferred over from the previous product that we had. Also, anyone can call and ask customer service. We can add that. We're actually working on a web portal that they could log in themselves. That's going to be step 2 of this process. And we should be having that probably within the next couple months up and running.
Madam Chair, Dan Howland.
Yes, Dan.
Just want to make a comment that our customers here in Las Vegas at RTC for paratransit, we're using the tool, this product that Kenny was explaining, that was owned by Transdev, our former contractor. And I just want to acknowledge that despite losing the contract to MV, they afforded us the continued use of their product until we got ours up and running, which, as Kenny said, started September 1st. So I do want to thank them. They were very good partners, and they certainly cared about the Las Vegas community and showed that by allowing us to use that product for 3/4 of the year. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. That's good to know. Very nice of them. Any other questions for Kenny or Dan about this notification system? Okay, hearing none. Thank you very much, Kenny. Good luck with this.
Thank you, and I look forward to presenting again in the near future.
Great. We'll be waiting. Item number 8 is a presentation on the, paperless manifest system for paratransit services. So, and Dan Howland will be presenting that. So, Dan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dan Howland again for the record. This paperless manifest project that is actually going to turn it over to Nate Peterson, our general manager, here in a moment from MV. But I just want to say that this is a project that's a long time coming. Nate will explain it in more detail. This is something that our CEO, MJ Maynard, has wanted to do for a long time. We set a goal almost 2 years ago to have this implemented by the end of the year, and we're going to achieve that goal, and Nate is going to explain that in a moment. But I do want to thank MV, Nate and his team, the local MV team for paratransit, along with my team under paratransit, and the support that we have been given from Francis Julian, our Deputy CEO, and our CEO, MJ Maynard. So, because without their support, this wouldn't have been possible. This is a big deal for paratransit here in Las Vegas to start this endeavor, and there's going to be a lot of efficiencies gained as a result of it. So with that, Nate Peterson will present.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can, Nate.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Dan. Nate Peterson, General Manager of MV Transportation for the record. And I would just like, next slide, please. And I would just like to echo a little bit of what Dan said. We here at MV, I'm very excited to do this presentation and been very excited to be part of this process. And the paperless manifest, it's great that there's support from the top at RTC with MJ and Francis, and Dan's been a huge proponent of this and supporting of it, as well as Antoinette and Stephanie and Tanya and the folks who deal with over there. But this has been there's been MDTs, mobile data terminals in the vehicles here for quite some time now, and the natural progression of that would be to have a paperless manifest for the driver. And what that means is where the computer, the onboard computer, is the depository for all data that we depend on for all our statistics and federal funding. And for a host of reasons, the industry has been very slow to adapt. They're very quick to adapt to the mobile data terminals in the vehicles, but they've been very slow to adapt to the paperless component of that. And for a whole host of reasons. And probably the one of them being the most complicated that we found out as we went through this is what to do in the event of an emergency. So anyway, the impetus for this was to replace the reliance on paper manifests for the source documentation. It gives us a lot of flexibility in terms of real-time dynamics out on the road. It saves all kinds of printing and boxes and paper and storage and reconciliation and all that kind of stuff. And the second part of that was, once we figured that out, was what do we do in an emergency? And an emergency for us would be if we lose connection through cellular or the servers go down to our vehicles on the road, what do we do? And we've come up with a what we think is a great plan. It's a pretty unique plan. We don't know of any place this size doing this. And with that, we can go to the next slide, Dan, or who's ever controlling this. So we started this process, we officially started it on May 23rd, but we've been talking about it for months prior to that with the RTC, but we officially started on May 23rd is when we worked with the drivers just on how to use the manifest cover sheet, which means there's still some data we need the driver to write down, their name, start, finish time, things like that, bus number. But after that, everything is in the computer. And so we started, like it says here, May 23rd, we had 20 drivers. We picked a cross-section of 20 drivers, some newer drivers, some older drivers, not in age, but in terms of experience here. And we got daily input from them. And then what we did is we went to phase 2, which is the most complicated and took us the longest. What do we do in the event of an emergency? And like I said, an emergency for us was we lose connection with the vehicle. And so we came up with a pretty unique solution to that. And what we're going to do is if for some reason we lose connection, and it has to be connection loss of over 2 hours. If it's less than 2 hours, the mobile data terminals in the vehicle can store that much data. The drivers can perform, and the system would really never know from a reconciliation standpoint that the system went down. If the outage goes over 2 hours, then we have a system in place where we can text the drivers out in the field their manifests for the rest of the day. And then there's a process by which they can perform those trips using a supplemental trip manifest. And we also, the other big something we wanted to make sure we were able to capture in this process was the do not leave alones or do not leave unattended. And how do we message that to the driver? How do we confirm to the driver that they got that message? And how do we confirm that nobody is left unattended that isn't supposed to be? And next slide, please. So with this is probably one of the biggest changes, certainly from an operations standpoint, in the life cycle of my time in paratransit, which has been extensive. And so we kind of have to re-engage how we do everything. And so through this process, we've come up with a whole host of standard operating procedures for both drivers, window dispatch, and trip edit manifest reconciliation. And what we mean by trip edit, every day there's people that go through every single trip sheet we do and verify that against what's in Trapeze in the computer system. It's a very laborious process. We have to touch every single trip sheet, and we have to try to interpret what drivers wrote down. And so this takes a lot of that guesswork out, streamlines that process. And the other thing, what we mean here by a living document is that there are things that we will still probably learn as we go forward to streamline and make better. And so we're certainly open to that. And we've come up with I didn't include it here, we didn't include it here, but a system outage contingency plan, which is very comprehensive, very detailed. And I can't think of anything we haven't thought of, but I'm sure something will come up. But we got a great group of people working on this with us. Next slide, please. So a training plan has been developed for all of our employees here. You know, staff has been at the forefront of this. But the drivers, window dispatchers, and trip editors, training has started for the trip editors and staff dispatchers. How we're going to roll out the training to the drivers is we have to do training a little bit differently than we did pre-COVID. Pre-COVID, we could put upwards of 50 people in our training room at a time, even more probably, and we just can't do more than 10 people at a time. So when Dan said the implementation is going to take us a little bit longer, not because we don't want to get going on, it's just going to take a little bit longer. We can only do 10 at a time. And so we've slotted to do the drivers starting October 1. Staff has already started. We started them about a month ago on that process. And we're hopeful to be, end of November, early December, depending on how quickly we can get people through. And the other thing we're going to do going forward is our big fear, knock on wood, we haven't had a system outage since I've been here, which is January 1st or the end of December of last year. So it's very, very rare, but when it does happen, it's all hands on deck. And so we just need to make sure that everybody is prepared. It's one thing to train people on what to do. It's a whole other thing to train them, and then it happens 9 months later and they forget. So we've come up with a plan to remind people what the processes are, because we never know when an outage is going to happen, right? It could happen 5 minutes from now. It could happen 5 months from now. It could happen 5 years from now. We just need to make sure we're prepared. It's kind of like a fire drill. Just make sure we're prepared, and we've got a plan in place for that. Next slide, please. So we made a similar presentation to Francis and Dan and Antoinette and the rest of the folks at Stephanie, the rest of the folks at the RTC on August 19th. And they approved our plan. And like I said earlier, we started training internally staff on September 3rd. And then we're going to monitor this, as we go forward. There's a lot of efficiencies we hope to gain. I mean, if you just think about, when you're doing 5,000 trips a day, think of all those drivers that write that information down on a trip sheet every day for 5,000 trips and put it in the MDT at the same time. And there's a whole host of other efficiencies we gain here. And I just couldn't be more excited about this. I totally concur with Dan. This is probably one of the biggest changes to how paratransit operates. After the MDT, which started rolling into our industry 15 years ago, it's just hard to believe 15 years have passed since we've been able to take the next step with this. And I couldn't be more excited to be right here, right now as a partner with the RTC for this. And that concludes my presentation. And if anybody has any questions, I would love to talk about this.
Are there questions for Nate?
And if nobody has any questions, Dan, did I miss anything? I know Dan's been very integral in this. And did I?
No,
anything I missed or didn't touch on, or?
Nate, no, this is Dan Howland for the record. Nate, I think you touched upon it, and we'll come back to the committee probably next year with an update on how things are going with the Paperless Manifest project.
Well, I'll tell you, we can sense your excitement, Nate, and for those of us that ride the paratransit buses, we're kind of excited too, but there's a little bit of trepidation. I've been on the buses since '94, and I've been through outages, and that would frighten me a bit, but it sounds like you've got a really good plan, so that's good. And I like the idea that you're doing the fire drill idea where you keep it fresh in people's minds. I think that's really, really a good idea. So thank you. Thank you for doing this.
Madam Chairwoman, sorry to interject. This is Reagan Lively, Management Analyst, RTC, for the record. I would just like to mention that Dr. Christine Moninghoff has been able to join our meeting now. Christine, can you confirm your audio visual?
Yes, hello. Sorry for the delay in tuning in.
Thank you, Doctor. We can hear you loud and clear. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we're back to Nate. Any questions for him? All right. Well, thank you very much, Nate. Good presentation. Exciting program. Thank you. And now we are at item number 9, which is a presentation regarding the efforts to implement safety protocols for RTC vehicles during the COVID-19 pandemic and the training of staff accordingly. And that will be given by Carolyn Wright. Carolyn?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and committee members. For the record, my name is Carolyn Wright, and I am the Safety Manager for MV Transportation serving RTC paratransit operations. So today I'll share with you on how safety training has been impacted by the pandemic and how we have responded to these unprecedented times. Today, we'd like to elaborate on some points on how we are impacted as well as coping with COVID-19. Next slide. Thank you. In an effort to comply with physical distancing and to continue our regular safety meetings, we've had to limit our in-person classes to no more than 10 employees. Our monthly safety meetings are no longer conducted in a classroom environment. Each month, printed collateral is distributed to every employee to ensure compliance. This is also used as a form of communication to convey updates from the CDC as well as other company policy changes. As we continue to send out frequent electronic safety messages via the MDT mobile data terminal within each vehicle. As an example, we remind our drivers that the RTC has gone from door-to-door service to curb service unless previously requested. This has been extremely effective in minimizing potential COVID exposure. Other weekly messages would also include a fundamental of the week. For example, we would focus on wheelchair securement, customer service with de-escalation techniques, ergonomics, reference points, pedestrian and bicycle awareness, as well as following distance. Refresher training is still conducted with our monthly safety blitzes. We encourage management presence to be present at busy pull-out times. The benefit is also to answer any questions or concerns that employees may have. Next slide. When the pandemic was in its early stages, MV Corporate was proactive in obtaining enough PPE for our employees. We were actually using our Las Vegas operation as a warehouse to supply our divisions on the West Coast. Our main focus was to keep our employees as safe and educated as possible. Daily, disposable masks and gloves were distributed. Reusable masks are distributed with our monthly safety meetings handouts, and face shields were also handed out and encouraged to be used when servicing our clients using mobility devices. We've also put lots of signage within the facility and available to all employees regarding the CDC updates and changes. This signage also provides details on the proper PPE recommendations, as well as to how effectively wear, use, and wash that particular PPE that was issued. Additionally, all the vehicles are equipped with multiple signage that share social distancing guidance, which assists both the operator and customers with doing their part in trying to minimize the spread of COVID. Cleaning protocols were increased throughout the facility. In the offices, wiping door handles and countertop surfaces are disinfected on an hourly basis. The vehicles are now disinfected with a hospital-grade cleaning agent on a nightly basis. Additional hand sanitizing dispensers are placed in high-trafficked areas with signage to encourage frequent as well as proper hand washing. In the office areas, we've installed Lexan shields mounted to the desk to limit the exposure between employees and staff. Sign-in sheets are also placed in all offices to monitor incoming and outgoing traffic and to trace back if necessary. Commonly used items such as microwaves and refrigerators were either removed or put out of service. Physical distancing markers were placed on the floor in common gathering areas. We have suggested seating charts placed in all the buses to encourage our clients to respect social distancing. Additionally, furniture was moved from gathering areas and placed outside for additional seating. We also found out that several employees had the ability to telecommute and continue to perform their jobs effectively. We've also seen an increase in productivity and a decrease in overall call-offs. Next slide. Okay, we also have to remember that there is not just one individual that is responsible for maintaining a safe and healthy environment. MV relies on the management team within its organization to ensure that frontline employees feel safe and comfortable going to work each and every day, as they are our most valuable resource in being able to provide this service to the community's most vulnerable. Management presence is integral to hearing what employee concerns are and for suggestions on how we can improve. Additionally, MV collaborates with other divisions on a regular basis on best practices. We also updates in the particular region. Our region is Southern California, so their rules are a little bit different, but we still share the same focus. Information from these meetings is then shared amongst the workforce to ensure that their safety and well-being is paramount. Next slide. It is with great comfort to know that several agencies have expressed an interest in collaborating with MV to ensure the safety of our employees and clients. Silver State, with their frequent and dedicated cleaning protocols, and Opportunity Village for taking the initiative to enhance the sanitary measures as our vehicles arrive at their locations to board and deboard clients. As previously stated, the safety of each employee is our #1 priority. We have recognized that in these unprecedented times, they might have affected each individual a little bit differently. MV has also established an emergency assistance program available to all employees as an additional resource. This program is outside of their insurance benefits and without a cost to the employees. Based on the feedback from several employees that have participated in this program, it's been very well received and definitely appreciated. Next slide. Oh, we have video. Okay, so what we have to share with you is a brief video on some of the collaborations with the other agencies.
In the dead of night, somebody's making your ride safe each and every day. It certainly adds that extra layer of protection that gets applied every single night to give everybody that peace of mind that they're looking for, particularly during these trying times. safe and healthy. This was really all just about serving the same customers. We both care very much for this population and want to see the best done to help keep them safe.
And that concludes my presentation. If anybody has any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Madam Chair, Betty Logan, oh, sorry. Betty Logan here.
Yes, go ahead.
My question is, I just want to make sure masks required for riders, and if they don't, does RTC provides or MV provides masks for the riders that don't have them?
So what we do is we provide our employees with masks when we distribute their manifest, those that are not on the paperless. So I know a lot of our employees have actually taken it upon themselves to issue our clients masks in the event that they don't have it. It's encouraged. We also have a policy that we don't want to violate anybody's ADA rights either, right? So we actually have the employee documented and then we forward it over to the RTC. So if there's additional information or anything that needs to be followed up with, then they could do it on that end.
Okay, I have another question. So if the client refuses to wear a mask, what happens?
So the operator,
ride?
We don't refuse the ride. We actually notify dispatch and find out what the circumstances are. And then we'll take it from there because it can go in a variety of different directions.
I see. Okay,
so we would either have a road, sorry.
Now go ahead.
A road supervisor either pick up that individual or again, a mask would, and again, it's not, we don't normally hand out masks, but the drivers do have extra masks to hand out if they want to do that.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Carolyn?
Yeah, Madam Chair, Dan Howland, just want to make the comment that, both MV and the RTC, we've provided face masks to our contractors. We've provided face shields for the drivers to wear, as Carolyn stated, especially when they're in close proximity to securing wheelchairs. And we have 14-point safety plans that are followed as well. Obviously, not to get into great detail, but to Beth's questions with regard to face masks, what we are doing is, as Carolyn said, is that information is provided via dispatch to our customer care. Our customer care will reach out to the customer to go over our policy. And there are circumstances where a customer is unable, for reasons like health reasons, not able to wear a mask. So that's why we're doing everything that we possibly can with respect to the nightly hospital-grade disinfectant sprays. Drivers are wearing masks, the signage with the social distancing, doing everything that we can to minimize close proximity contact. And I will tell you that just in general, we have a high compliance rate for face mask wearing, obviously by the drivers, but even by the paratransit customers. So couldn't be happier about that. The RTC and MV, we continue to look at as this situation evolves. We continue to look at improvements. I'm sure, we're looking at things now. We're not necessarily ready to, because we haven't implemented any of them, but we'll update as we start implementing new things for safety precautions. Thank you.
Thank you. That was helpful. Anything else about the safety protocols and the training? Okay, well, thank you very much, Carolyn. That was a good report. Very, very informational.
Thank you.
Item number 10 is it's an update on the RTC Transit Security Contractor and the camera system upgrades, and that will be given by Robert Palumbo. So, Robert?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Robert Palumbo, Safety and Security Compliance Supervisor for RTC for the record. I will be going over the safety and security update for this presentation, and I will give you some updates now. Next slide. To go over our security contractor transition, as you many of you have noticed, we have a new security provider, Marksman Security. They took over security operations for the RTC on July 1st, 2020. And our goal for that security transition was to make the impact as little as possible. So the biggest change you should have seen is probably just the uniforms, which you have noticed that are now blue instead of yellow. Contract is for 3 base years. It has 2 one-year options for a total of 5 years before an RFP needs to be submitted. The contract includes 198 officers, and that's a mix between armed and unarmed guards. They operate at all of our facilities, and they staff 2 dispatch stations, lost and found, and as well as ride our fixed route systems and staff our command center that is here at the annex facility. We also have rover patrols, which consist of vehicles that operate throughout the city. They respond to calls of service, which comes in from the public, our contractors, or the RTC themselves. And they are monitored via a GPS system so we can efficiently dispatch those rovers to the location in relation to the distances that they have to travel. So that's one area that we have increased. As you see the next slide, we'll talk about technology. So our new RFP, we were tasked and challenged with utilizing technology to oversee this contract and utilize technologies that we haven't utilized in the past. Real-time incident reporting and enhanced geolocations was requested for our contractors to give us. And Marksman responded to this with an officer management system called TAAC. To give you an idea of what TAAC is, some of you may have noticed the officers using cell phones. They're typically red, and that device is utilized for incident reporting. It is utilized for geolocation, so it gives us the locations. It enables your dispatchers and us and the management staff to see where officers are in the field, if they're on the proper routes, if they are moving, if they're stationary. So it really enhances us and gives us a better view of the valley as a whole to see where officers are in relation to where the incidents and the need for those officers are in the valley. Like I said, the officers in the field use cell phones. Additionally, officers at our facilities can use a web-based portal. And every officer that logs into the system, you're able to see on a screen, so you can ensure that if we are requiring a number of officers to be logged in at any given time, we can verify that those officers are logged in and they're at the proper locations. Additionally to that, technology that we haven't used before, which was the body cameras. And this gave us a new optic and new visibility for situations that may have happened outside of our traditional camera coverage at the facility or outside the view of our fixed route cameras that happened on the bus. So this gives us a nice way of ensuring that the officers are interacting with the public in accordance with our policies, that they're following any kind of guidelines that we are prescribing them, and also that they're providing customer service throughout the valley, even if we don't have one of our cameras or a fixed route camera at the scene that may happen in the city somewhere else. And then lastly, the picture you see in the background is actually of our 24/7 command center. That is a command center that we more or less is like a hub. You can see a couple of displays in the back that is showing all of our facility cameras at all of our facilities. They are also overseeing some of the programs that I mentioned before, such as TAAC. Officer locations are monitored via there. They are also overseeing the issues that are reported via Transit Watch, which is our See Something, Say Something app. And those are issues that are reported from the public, such as safety concerns or operator concerns. They also oversee the rovers that I mentioned previously. And this enables them so that if they get an issue, they can dispatch those officers that are closest, not only rovers, but officers that are routing the fixed route system. Next slide, please. Lastly, we have had our camera system upgraded at all of our facilities. So this is a large grant-funded video system. I know the Safety and Security Department is extremely excited about it. The big component that was upgraded, not only the physical aspect of our cameras that are pictured in that picture, but also the infrastructure that supports those cameras, such as raceways and servers and the like. Also, we have a brand new video management system, which is called a VMS. And that video management system allows us to have one program that we can tie into all of our cameras, and it enables us to easily look at locations in a moment's notice. We don't have to log out, log in. It really enables us to see one instance, and then if something happens in a different area, you have it open already, and you don't have to switch between the two. Additionally, the cameras that you have are new smart cameras, and they have the ability to alert and send notifications. A camera can be looking at a given picture, and the operator can fence off, per se, or cordon off a given area. And if anyone enters that area that has been cordoned off, even if the operator doesn't have that camera open, the system can alert the operator that there is an issue at this camera, and it will bring that up, as well as notifications that come in through our access control system that will allow us to readily and easily handle issues that we would normally not have seen. Lastly, the completion of this project is expected to end in the end of this year for 2020, and I believe that concludes my presentation. I am open for any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions for Robert?
Madam Chair, Betty Lawson.
Yes, Beth.
My question is, I know that there's a camera system upgrade for the RTC facilities. Do we have cameras in buses at all?
Yes, we have our fixed route operations has cameras on the buses, yes.
Okay.
And this is Dan, Madam Chair. All the paratransit buses have camera systems as well.
Thanks, Dan.
Those cameras are not integrated into the system that Robert's just been talking about. Is that correct?
That is correct. The operations of those cameras are overseen by the corresponding operating company, whether it be Keolis or MP.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Any other questions?
Madam Chair, this is Chuck Newbunner for the record.
Yes, Chuck.
I was wondering if we could get clarification in regards to armed versus unarmed security personnel and their deployment or allocation by route and or facility.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question, please?
Absolutely. Regards to the clarification between armed versus unarmed security personnel and how they're allocated or deployed.
Well, our deployments, and then that's where it comes in the technology. Our deployments are multifaceted. We get information for ridership. We use information for fare evasions. We use information from, again, TAAC from the real-time reporting. And those deployments are then changed accordingly based off of comments that we also receive from the public, whether it be stops that have a lot of issues. We may change deployments along those lines, but they're data driven. They're not just arbitrarily thought up. They are backed up with data that we receive on the security side, as well as data that we receive in-house from other facets. And as far as a spread between armed and unarmed, most of those deployment changes will be on the armed side because we have no unarmed in the field. Our unarmed are predominantly at our facilities, such as the BTC.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah.
Anything else for Robert? Okay, well, thank you very much, Robert. That was really interesting as well.
Thank you.
We are now at item number 11, which is an information and action item on the November 2020 TAAC meeting and giving some advice to staff as to what we want to do. And that person will be Dan Howland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to ask Reagan Lively, understanding the dates and possibly having a calendar in front of her. The idea here is because of the Thanksgiving holiday and when our TAAC meeting usually falls the fourth Wednesday of every month, we are looking for a vote to change the date of the meeting and have it earlier. Reagan, could you give us some dates that we're looking at?
Sure, Dan. Reagan Lively, RTC for the record. Looking at the current 2020 November calendar, looks like an option would be the Wednesday, the 18th.
Yes. So, Madam Chair, we'd want to have a motion to move that the meeting be changed from the fourth Wednesday to the third Wednesday, November 18th, 2020.
Okay. Oops. Thank you. I would accept a motion to make that change in the meeting date from the fourth Wednesday to the third Wednesday of November.
Madam Chair, this is Dan Hyde. I so move.
Okay, is there any discussion on that?
Madam Chair,
yes, Beth.
It's Betty Logan for the record. Can we set a time? We usually do it like 1 o'clock because we have like a potluck or something. Are we doing that?
Beth, this is Jean for the record.
Meeting. I'm sorry, we're not. We're doing it on online. That's fine.
Well, let me just answer your question because there's a possibility, though not probability, that we would be having an in-person meeting in November. However, because of the way that our potlucks have gone in the past, there's a sense from staff, and I've told them that I think that I would prefer not to have that at this time, perhaps later when we can spread out a little bit more and have that social distancing and not be all of us hanging over food dishes, that it might make more sense. And so no matter whether we have it virtually or we have it in person, my recommendation to staff was that we not have the potluck this year. And this was a hard decision because I love it.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Jean.
Welcome.
This is David Gloria with the RTC.
Yes, David.
I want to clarify that yes, this meeting for November is most likely will be taking place virtually again, but the meeting time would be the same at 1:30.
Okay, good. So we have a motion on the floor. Any other discussion? All in favor of changing the meeting to the, I think it was the 16th?
18th.
18th of November, say aye.
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 Aye. Aye. Any opposed? So we will be meeting on the 18th of November, which will be the third Wednesday of the month. Thank you. The last item on the agenda is the second public comments period. And this again, now comments can be about anything having to do with RTC, paratransit, fixed route, planning, anything. And again, the comments were submitted in advance by either email or on the website. Comments will be limited to 500 words. And if there are additional words, those plus the first 500 will be posted with our minutes. And David Gloria, are there any comments at this point from the public?
Thank you, Madam Chair. David Gloria, again for the record. There are no public comments at this time. Madam Chair, that concludes the public comments.
Okay, thank you very much, David. This is also an opportunity for members of the committee to make comments if you would like. What we would like you to do is give your name and limit your comments to 3 minutes, talking about whatever you would like to talk about regarding RTC. So if there's anyone, just chime in, please. Is anyone struggling with unmuting, or are we just no comments? All right, hearing no comments, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Madam Chair, this is Dan Hyde. I so move.
Thank you, Don. We are adjourned. Thank you everyone for coming.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful rest of the week.